Today we're at a great community room in downtown Vancouver. It's called the Hudson Room. We're sitting in front of an event that we're going to do. It's called Startup Conversations in the Couve. We bring in great founders. We talk about the challenges that they've gone through. We talk about the things that they're trying to accomplish and really kind of pull the startup community together.
Noctua Interactive is a new game studio here in Vancouver, Washington. I'm Nathan Stallman. I'm the CEO and storyteller of Noctua Interactive. I've built a few startups. This is the fourth startup I've done with my co-founder, Rachel Stallman. And my last three exited through merger or acquisition, so I've had a good track record. My background is in media development, ultra high-end VR and AR simulation, both on the training side and on the iron side. High-end training, education tech, and software as a service models. As a personal note, I have three boys, 12, 16, and 18, so we're doing the college launch soon, which is more terrifying than startup. I'm also a writer, a tech evangelist, and an avid gamer. Noctua Interactive has been my favorite startup so far because the process that we use and the concept of the company is not to solve a problem or save lives or bring soldiers home safe or create safety or compliance regulatory needs. We get to make people happy. Our entire purpose is to bring joy to players through interactive play. And the best part about it is it gets to be through the stories that I write, which is rewarding since I've spent the last 20 years writing them. We are early stage. We are in our seed fundraising round. We've developed prototype. We're pre-product, pre-revenue. We have self-funded out of gains from previous sales to this point and have developed both pipeline, process, and prototype for our debut title and are in the process of seeking funds either through VC, debt financing, or publisher, depending on where we find is the best fit. We have the luxury of having done this a few times to find a partner that is going to be a partner for us, which is a nice place to be. It started with stories, a dream, and a cup of coffee. I spent the last 20 years writing stories that I wanted to turn into published works when I sold my last company. But I've always been an avid gamer. And I was fascinated with the idea about could I put enough guardrails on a story and then turn that over to a player and then see if they did something different than the story than I would have. So I may still go back and publish it, but I want to see what does a player do, and is the ending and the result and the journey in that story the same as I would have if I had written it. And then I was talking to Dave about this. I met Dave at Vancouver event because I wanted to be part of the community that I'm in now. And he said, you should meet my friend Rick Neal. He's huge in the game space, and he'll give you some guideposts on how you should get started. So I said, sure, that sounds great. And I went to a coffee entrepreneur event at Foremost, thank you, Charles, where I met Rick Neal. And I said, I have these wonderful stories. I was gonna write them as stories, and I want to turn them into games. And he said, don't do that, that's a horrible idea. He said, games is hard, it's expensive, you'll lose all your money, and then you'll just be frustrated, don't do that. But he did agree to be an advisor and to help Rachel and I navigate the industry and make the connections, because every time I've made a new business, I've jumped into a new industry. So there's always a period of time where you're learning the ropes and seeing how the waterways go. And then we did that for a few months, and I decided it was a good fit. I've never been in an industry before where everyone wants to see you succeed. There's no security you have to pass through to get to the door. There's no armed guards at the conference. There aren't as many trade secrets where you have to protect your fiefdom of information. Games was fun. And so I told Rick, I said, Rick, I'm gonna do this anyway. Why don't you come do this? It'll be fun. We'll have a good time. So in October, he agreed and became our third co-founder. And then we had to build a team, because every good entrepreneurial business starts with a core team that gels, and then you can make magic happen. So we've got a great team. In this venture, we have the advantage of being able to pull in senior people who have experience. And yeah, they have a lot of experience. They're insanely experienced. They have over 90 published titles between them. We have 100 years of combined developer or entrepreneurial experience. If you've played video games in the space, this team is responsible for Madden Football, FIFA Soccer, WildStar Online, Ultima Online, Wing Commander, Dead Space. They've worked at Electronic Arts, Microsoft Studios, Zynga, Amazon Games, Gearbox. It's a fantastic team. With their proven record of fun and interactive play and my track record of using technology to innovate and be a force multiplier for a team, we set out to see if we could make a business model that disrupts the space. So it's not enough to just make a game. I want to come in and do it in a way that hasn't been done before. And fortunately for us, the games industry is already disrupted. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the reports with massive layoffs, and AI has sort of become the boogeyman, but the real problem in the space is the business model doesn't work. You can't go out and source $90 million for a game on a roll of the dice anymore. And that's been the model. These companies, they'll go out and they'll get, has anyone played the Harry Potter game? Okay, $115 million in production. Okay, now they got lucky. It's a great IP. They sold, they were the highest selling game last year. They sold 22 million copies at $70 a piece. So, but that is a very, very rare chance to make that happen. So we said, could we do a game, could we do a company that targets achievable, sustainable numbers, 300,000 installs, that lets us test my stories and IPs to see which IP is going to resonate with the player base, and then focus on that one. So current model doesn't allow you to do that because it's too risky. So if we can do it smaller and say, is this story in your wheelhouse, for example, then we'll focus on that. We'll get enough players and make that happen. Could we also dramatically reduce the time required to iterate, test, and create fun gameplay? So could we use current tools to reduce a 3 to 5 year development process to 18 months? And then, is that scalable? So can we scale that process so that our core team can then work to have multiple titles in production at the same time? And we found we could, actually. So we spent the last 6 months testing pipelines, testing AI tools. We evaluated 85 tools. We settled on 15 for our proof of concept and our demo, and found we could generate a significant amount of work, and it was actually, it's realistic to produce that game in under 18 months. We're giving ourselves 18 months so that we can make the gameplay more fun. But it was a massive boost to creation. It was a massive boost to how effective people can be. It let us cut out all of the waste. So as an example, as an author, if I'm designing a character or an environment, I go to an artist and I say, give me a spread on what this would be. They come back, and hopefully the 7 examples that are there are close to what I was envisioning. It's usually not. Then you throw those samples away and you do it again. And you reiterate that for a period of months, 6 or 7 months. In this case, I was able to use AI to find out if my descriptions were accurate enough to give to an art team. And if they weren't close to what I wanted, then I wasn't polished enough for me to give to an art team. So we were able to use that to take my written works, refine that to give to the art team. Then the art team was able to take that to refine and produce materials that could be given to the dev team so that we could get it into a game engine and running at 60 frames a second. So we started with a hero asset. In this case, it was a tree. That's part of our demo. We made hundreds of trees, maybe thousands of trees. And then how do we take them apart? How do we use those tools to make an in-game, we used Unreal Engine 5, and how do we make an in-game asset that would be playable and presentable at 60 frames a second? Art target was on the left after the presentation. I'll have to show you. I've got it on Steam Deck, so I'll have to show you after the presentation. But so our target was on the left. So that was what we started with. When Rachel set the art target, is that that's what we want the demo art environment to look like. The important piece here was we had 4 people working on the demo. We set the art target on January 23rd of this year. And the first week of March, we were done. And 2 of them had never worked with Unreal before. So as part of this process, we found there were a lot of people asking us questions. We were able to create a generative AI Discord channel. You are all welcome to join. There are some huge names in this space, Riot, 2K Games, that are listening and watching how we do things. A new game studio, one of the biggest hurdles to overcome is generate awareness. So we've been able to use the research and the process and pipelines we've developed to generate and put ourselves into a position of thought leadership to give us an extra marketing point out to generate awareness about the products that we're putting out and delivering. And so we're on our way for our debut title, Dreamwalkers Rise of Nightmare. We're targeting a release of Q3, Q4 of 25, depending on how the funding comes in. It's a wonderful story. I wrote it inspired by journaling the dreams and nightmares of my 3 boys for the last 15 years. If you're familiar with the gaming style, it's a Metroidvania style game. So 2D action platformer. Again, afterwards, if you're not familiar with the style, I have to show you on the Steam Deck. And you play as 3 brothers who are trying to save a world of dreams from destruction. Roadmap's pretty simple. We're in pre-production now, so we're scoping out the project. We'll be done with that by the end of May and start into production. We're doing pre-hires and interviews now so that we have a bench under our senior team. We'll probably ramp up to 25 people during that process. We're currently at 6. And by January, we'll have our first playable demo, full playable demo, and hopefully be in alpha by May with a beta launch in August, and then planning on a release in late Q3, early Q4. We're trying to target that window because there's going to be a gap with all of the layoffs in the Q3 through Q2 window. Well, there'll be a shortage of titles. So for us, it's an ideal opportunity to get into that space. And then I have 7 stories that are all different worlds, different IPs that we'll test, releasing 2 and 3 in 27 and 28, and then 4 and 5 in 29. And then we'll see 6 and 7 will come out if we're not doing sequels or DLCs. Current challenges, I was on the list of things that any startup, securing funding. The challenge there is timing and finding the right partner, building community awareness so that we have a way to navigate the noise in the game space so that the players can find our game, deciding on which one we're going to do second, which will be a group discussion. And the challenge is finding something that diversifies us from the genre and style that we have currently so that we get a different player base and we can test things out. And then keeping up on technology because the AI is changing every 2 weeks. So I've had to build things into our pipeline so that quarterly we're reviewing technology to see if it's still the best way we could use it and what tools would make us better, faster, higher quality. And thank you. Any questions?
Actually, what I want to do, thank you.
Yeah.